And I'm starting to wonder if they have something in Jalen Polk. And it's Jones and Mego with Arcan. No Arcan today here on WEEI. You can jump in on the phone, 617-779-7937. We'll get back to our big question of the day. Up now at Jones and Mego. How important is it for the Red Sox to bring back Alex Cora for next year? We'll get to that coming up. We can revisit some of what Cora told us earlier this hour. That's on the Odyssey app, or you can check it out on WEEI's YouTube page. Just subscribe there. I'm starting to wonder if Jalen Polk is not just their number one receiver, but I'm starting to wonder if they have something there, Mego. And I've said this, I think when you've been here, I know we were talking about it last week. There's a world that exists, and we can debate the percentage on it, but there's a world that exists where they have their quarterback and they have their number one receiver, and they hit on both in the draft. They took two guys in the first 37 picks. Like, that's not unheard of. That's where a lot of good receivers go. He wasn't my favorite in the draft, but the returns on him coming out of minicamp, it is just minicamp, seemed to be pretty good. The immediate justification of the pick was that if the Patriots didn't take him at 37, somebody else was going to. He wasn't going to fall much further. Whether that's spin or the truth, I don't know. It's very possible that we're underestimating the Patriots receiving room. And we'll see when Drake May actually gets on the field, but I'm starting to wonder how realistic that is. And if you want to put some faith in Elliott Wolf and his drafting track record, or at least the Packers' drafting track record while he was there, they found some good receivers in that stretch. Again, good receivers come from that area early in the second round. And so, I don't know, what's the likelihood they already have that guy? They have their Brandon Aiyuk, who was the 25th pick, or Debo went early in the second round. You know, styles are different, but they've already got that guy on the roster.
I think with this position, it's pretty much impossible to tell from minicamp, and so it'll really bear out. You'll get a better idea in training camp, and obviously, if he gets playing time in the season, it would be unusual for them to be able to hit on both in the same draft. I feel like the silver lining to how crappy people expect the team to be this year is that fans look at it and go, well, maybe you'll get yourself into a Cincinnati situation where then you're so high in the draft that you get some turnkey amazing receiver. I always thought that the notes on Polk were more about, hey, this is like a really strong character guy. He's going to be a great leader for that room. He's going to be dependable. He's not necessarily the most explosive receiver. He's not going to have incredible separation. And maybe you're going and looking further down in the draft for somebody who dropped to get something like that. But I always thought that it would, like, if he's the number one receiver, I don't know if that's great.
Oh, so I think I feel if he's their number one receiver and it's not
Javon Baker.
Yeah, I feel better about Polk than Baker, wouldn't you?
I don't know. I mean, if Baker has some kind of freaky athleticism and he's just like a
I just
tornado
feel better about
in
them
his
hitting
press
at 30.
conferences.
I feel better about hitting at 37. And I said this before. Jacoby Myers is a good receiver. But the fact that Jacoby Myers was showing as an undrafted player, not a fourth-round pick like Baker, but the fact he was showing more early on in his training camp as an undrafted guy than the first-round pick, N'Keal Harry, was a bad sign.
But I guess I don't really care. And I understand this is a club that's in a desperate position, so you want to use your high draft picks to the best value that you can. But at the end of the day, I don't really care where your number one receiver comes from.
No, I don't either.
If he ends up being Jacoby Myers, then to me, even with a 37 pick and Jacoby Myers was undrafted, that's a great success.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if the fourth rounder is showing more than the second rounder, that's a bad sign, is what I'm saying.
I just remember the book on him not necessarily being like something different from a Jacoby Myers.
Well, look, so
like he's not going to all of a sudden explode in an NFL game and be Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be Justin Jefferson, but I think Jacoby Myers would be, if you're getting Jacoby Myers in round 2, that's not good enough. I don't think. And so I think you can aim higher than that. I think you're already starting to hear, and this is probably spin from the team, but like reporters are higher on Polk's ceiling than I think they were when he was first drafted. Like, for instance, let me hear Greg Bedard from his podcast on Jalen Polk and how he stood out so far in the early offseason program.
Anybody who's listened to this podcast or read me knows how I feel about Jalen Polk and what I've seen on the field from him. I think he's going to be really good. I think he's got a chance to be, at least statistically, one of the best rookie receivers for the Patriots in some time. I just think he's
that's not saying much.
He's Jacoby Myers with much bigger upside, and very sure-handed, tough, smart, knows what he's doing. I love Jalen Polk, and so I feel a lot better about the third wide receiver spot going into this year.
Myers with much bigger upside. You know who he gets compared to? You know who from a speed standpoint and some of his measurable standpoints he compares to, and Phil wrote about this? Devontae Adams. And so I'm not saying he's Devontae, and I'm definitely not saying he's Justin Jefferson, but again, what's the percentage that they have these guys? And we look at it and go get Brandon Aiyuk. Because the one thing that started to strike me, I'm higher on the Patriots than a lot of people. I'm not super high on them. 6 wins. When we talk about trading a first-round pick, you do have to factor in that trading that first-round pick, it could be the number 1 pick. And so are you giving up the number 1 pick in the draft for Brandon Aiyuk? Or are you giving up, and I don't think the Patriots would give it up and give him a contract anyway, but like, are you doing that? And I want all the talent I could get. I'd love to have Polk and Aiyuk, or Polk and, pick your receiver, T. Higgins. I would love to have that. But you do have to be a little leery about trading that number 1 pick if they're going to be as bad as some of the prognosticators are saying they're going to be.
So with that Greg Bedard clip, he says that he feels a lot better about that number 3 position in the depth chart of the wide receivers. Who does he have above him then? Just to factor right now, I'd guess Douglas. I
think from what you read, it's Douglas and Osborne. But I think that's like how Brissett is above Polk right now. Brissett is above May right now. I think it's a bit of experience. It's a bit of a placeholder thing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, I was just trying to get a read on that because again, I feel like we've barely talked about KJ Osborne and anything that he could do because it's more just like almost to have veteran presence in there because you haven't been able to develop anybody outside of Demario Douglas. But I hear all the comments on Polk, and it's like he's a steady Eddie guy is what it sounds like to me. And that's what Jacoby Myers was. And you could have resigned Jacoby Myers and had him here, and he had an even better season last year. So to me, it's like, I don't know. I can't do backflips for that. I hope he's good. I hope he's steady. I hope he's Jacoby Myers.
So you don't think he's a number 1?
No, I don't. I don't think that that's like a great position for you to be in. I guess I'm more excited about something like if Javon Baker goes out there and he's like a total anomaly. Like, I don't care where he's drafted. I don't care if he's drafted lower than Polk is.
Yeah, I just think that's if you're whiffing at pick 37, that's a bad sign.
Was it whiffing if he's the third receiver?
Not initially, but if that's kind of his ceiling in the NFL, yes, that's a whiff at 37.
I get it, because you need to make value out of the draft if that's the only thing you're going to do. Like, if you're not going to bring in free agents and you're not going to be swinging big trades, then you better hit on the draft. But their record with wide receivers, if he's playing and he actually has some stats, to me, that's like a big enough hit.
617-779.
Because I don't think they should be doing it that way.
793.7, you can jump in. What's the likelihood they have their number 1 receiver? And I don't mean like the number 1 guy on the Pats. Like, they have their own version of a number 1 receiver, one of these guys. They get found at 37 all the time. And the early returns on Polk are good. You can jump in here on Jones and Mego. No Arcan today.